Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Tuesday evening, December 10, 2024. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. I'd really appreciate it if you guys get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of the tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season. That's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you guys utilize the timestamps at the bottom of the video to skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most. You can also utilize the timestamps in the video description as well as the comment section. There's no need for you to be sitting and watching this 30 to 50 minute video if you have other things to do. Just skip to the points that you want to see the most. Leave a comment down below letting me know what the that's been like in your year recently. Also, feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so we're going to be looking at the Atlantic hurricane and tropical storm activity based on data from 1944 to 2020. So we're somewhere in here after the first 10 days of November, and we can, well, not first 10 days of November, the first 10 days of December. And we can see that activity is definitely going to be starting to taper off in general. If there was something that's going to develop, it had a chance around the first 10 days of December to do so. Definitely going to be very hard for that to happen, especially given the amount of dry air that has taken over the Atlantic, not to mention the amount of wind shear that has also taken over the Atlantic as well. We'll be talking more about those later on. But we can definitely see that in terms of tropical and subtropical cyclone points of origin, and I'd like for you to keep in mind that this is based on data from records began in 1851 all the way up to 2023, and it's highlighting the time period from December 11 to December 20. The only areas that we've had storm systems develop, well, we have one right here to the east of Puerto Rico that looks like it's formed right on top of the British Virgin Islands, and then it pushed westward into northern Puerto Rico, across Hispaniola, Dominican Republic first, then Haiti. Then it passed to the north of Jamaica, passing through the Cayman Islands, then clipping the Yucatan Peninsula right there, before curving in the eastern Gulf of Mexico and dissipating. We also have another one right here that formed to the northeast of Bermuda, pushed to the northeast, then made a U-turn and pushed down to the south. Then it came down and made a whole loop-de-loop, and then it went all the way around and then back towards the southwest, where it died right there to the east or the northeastern portion of the Dominican Republic. Quite the trap, but this is all we've ever had from records began 1851 to 2023. Just two storm systems during this time period from December 11 to December 20. It's not impossible for it to happen over the next 10 days, considering that today is December 10. So that's why we're looking at the next 10 days from December 11 to December 20. It's not impossible, but it's definitely rare for sure. And we see that we still have a very huge amount of warm sea surface temperatures across the Atlantic, stretching into the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. We see all the yellows, the oranges, that represents anywhere from 1 all the way to maybe even close to 3 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. And we see the La Nina across the eastern to the central Pacific, trying to get its act together. It's predicted that we could get into a La Nina like pattern before all is said and done, and we head back into the next hurricane season. Who knows, maybe just like what Ben Noel stated, with the warming up of the eastern Pacific, we might just get an El Nino to replace the La Nina, bringing forth less storms or so on across the Caribbean. You know, El Nino is basically when we have warmer than average sea surface temperatures across this area of the world, bringing forth more tropical systems forming into tropical storms and hurricanes. thus causing more upper level winds, tearing the tops of these thunderstorms off, especially across the Caribbean. And then we have less storms or hurricanes across our neck of the woods. But La Nina, or the lack thereof, neutral to La Nina conditions like what we've been experiencing since burial with all of these cooler than average sea surface temperatures, definitely shuts down the Pacific in general, and it definitely sets up a good, well, weather pattern in terms of, the ones that storms like, because we don't have the wind shear to tear these thunderstorms apart, so these hurricanes can definitely be more vigorous for sure. And it's not only how warm the waters are at the skin of the ocean, but how warm they are the deeper we go into the ocean. This map right here is showing the ocean heat potential. We see that it still hasn't updated since November 22, the one that we showed earlier. Updated on December 9, and today is December 10th, so it updated yesterday. But boy, I don't know what's going on with this. Maybe for the new year it will be updated. Either way, this was what it was showing for the past, let's say, is it 30, it has it been 30 days as yet? Looks to be 18 days. We see all of the yellows, we see all of the oranges, the reds. We see the very warm ocean waters, especially to the south of Jamaica. Excuse me. That we know these systems love in general. So it's not only about how warm the waters are at the skin of the ocean like what we showed here, but how warm the waters are the deeper into the ocean that we go. And we know that if we have all of this being stretched out and being, present for the next hurricane season in 2025, it definitely could spell trouble. Even if we get this, it could definitely spell trouble, even though we might get in on an El Nino next year. If we take a look at what the Euro and the GFS supercomputer models are showing for the next 7 days, not much change has taken place. As usual, we're going to be looking at the next 168 hours, so keep your eyes focused at the timestamp at the top, and keep your eyes focused across the Caribbean for all of this, the rainfall in inches that we see here on the key on the red. So as we go out in time, we see Jamaica right here. First of all, not getting on much in the way of rainfall at all. Maybe some isolated afternoon showers on a Wednesday afternoon. Thursday, not much rainfall, more whites than anything else. We see the line of showers right here stretching into the Bahamas, Cuba, Western Caribbean, and Central America, associated with that frontal system. But we see that it's definitely going to be pushed back towards the west, so it's not going to be affecting Jamaica at all. And we see the huge amount of isobars associated with that huge trough of low pressure right here that's going to be influencing the weather conditions across sections of Haiti, the Dominican Republic, sections of eastern Cuba, the Bahamas. We see a lot of moisture up into this portion of the world to the north of Puerto Rico. Lots of rainfall, and we're going to be stopping it right there at the next 168 hours. This is valid for 12Z on Tuesday, December 17th. So this is 7 a.m. on Tuesday, and we see the huge amount of moisture that's going to be expected to the north of the eastern Caribbean. We also see some moisture right there across the waters to the west of Jamaica as well. Let us see what the GFS supercomputer model is showing. First of all, we see the line of showers associated with that frontal system that's going to be plaguing the eastern United States, sections of Florida, the western portion of Cuba, into the northwestern Caribbean, Central America. We see the afternoon showers that Wednesday afternoon is going to bring for Jamaica. And we see that as we head into late Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we are going to be getting on more so of a northeasterly flow, bring by that rainfall to northeastern Jamaica. As a matter of fact, the rainfall hasn't even stopped. I thought it would have, but northern Jamaica has been getting rainfall continuously. But we can see the huge isobars associated with a possible upper level trough of low pressure, broad air of spin. That's going to be bringing a lot of moisture across the waters, especially to the north of the eastern Caribbean. We see the dark greens, we see the yellows, we see the oranges, the reds. And we see some of that moisture into portions of the Bahamas, eastern Cuba, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, getting in on some of that as well. And we're going to be stopping it right there at the end of the 168 hours. And we're going to be looking back at the Euro for consensus. We're going to be looking for agreement. So clearly, the waters to the west of the island gonna be getting on some rainfall for sure. We also see that there's gonna be a lot of moisture to the north of the eastern Caribbean. We see the dark greens, we see the yellows, the oranges, the reds. Lots of rainfall expected out to sea, maybe even spilling into sections of Bermuda for sure. We see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus with this, and we can already see the moisture associated with it already based on the first infrared satellite image that was shown. For reference, we have Jamaica right here, Eastern Cuba right here, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and we see a lot of moisture right here to the northeast of the Eastern Caribbean right here. And all of that is associated with a broad area of spin at upper level trough of low pressure. That's a lot of clouds, showers and thunderstorms taking place across the waters of the northern main development region, all the way up northward as well. And even the accumulated precipitation forecast for the next 7 days, both of them from the Euro and the GFS, they're both seeing all of this moisture. Look at the dark reds into the purples, the pinks, the salmon colors, or the peach colors. We can see all the way up to 2, maybe all the way up to maybe 8 inches of rainfall out to sea, not really affecting anyone. We're glad for that. But we see a lot of reds, maybe close to an inch of rainfall in store for portions of the Caribbean, Eastern Caribbean, section of Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, the Bahamas, Cuba. But clearly the highest amounts of rainfall should be where we see those dark reds, purples into the pinks and peach colors. As usual, we're still talking about sections of Belize, northeastern Guatemala, northern Honduras, section of southeastern Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama. We see some of this rainfall into portion of western Venezuela, Colombia right there, as well as eastern Cuba and the northeastern portions of South America, maybe even spilling into section of Trinidad and Tobago. And we see that the GFS model is in consensus with this forecast. So there's still a lot more rainfall to come for these years, highlighted and circled in black. But regarding the rainfall forecast for Jamaica, not seeing much for the rest of the island, but clearly northeastern Jamaica is getting the brunt of it all. You see the green, the yellows, the oranges. Keep in mind that this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both showing all the rainfall expected from now up until 1 p.m. on Tuesday, December 17. There's going to be rainfall, and with already saturated ground could definitely bring forth some isolated flash flooding in those parishes. St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland, they've been getting plagued for the past month or even more than a month with a lot of rainfall, and clearly there is more rainfall to come for sure. If we take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see a ridge of high pressure right here to the north of the Eastern Caribbean that we know is responsible for sending all of the easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. We can see the broken orange lines right here to the northeast of the Caribbean associated with that trough that we highlighted. Look at all the clouds associated with it. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images before the sun went down, we can make out all of these entities. First of all, we didn't see it on the surface map, but the clouds associated with that frontal system setting up shop across the southern and eastern United States. We can also see the clouds associated with that upper level trough of low pressure that we just mentioned. And we can see the flow of the clouds from east to west, the low level ones at that, pushing in from the main development region into the Caribbean, all courtesy of that easterly flow brought about by the ridge of high pressure. Clearly we have some strong upper level flow pushing those high cold cloud tops off towards the east. That's what we're talking about, some strong upper level winds out there, definitely going to be preventing anything from forming at this time of year. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Tuesday, December 10, 2024. It was stated that rain was in the forecast of parts of some northern and eastern parishes during Tuesday morning as well as some southern parishes during the afternoon. And northern parishes, we're talking about Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland. Eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey, like Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew. While southern parishes, we're talking about Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarendon, Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine, St. Thomas as well. And what ended up happening? I don't know why it wasn't posted on our Twitter page at first, but a post was made in the morning at around 7:26 a.m. highlighting that we're indeed getting on some cloud cover as well as some isolated showers across sections of some northern parishes. We saw the clouds across sections of Portland, St. Mary, section of St. Anne as well for sure. And then during the afternoon hours, we definitely saw what took place. And what took place was exactly what was predicted, in that section of some southern parishes started to get in on the overcast skies and isolated showers. So you see the post that was made on our Twitter page at around 3:21 p.m. By the way, I'd like for you to keep in mind that these posts aren't only made here on our Twitter page or Weather Jamaica, but they're also made on our Instagram page or Weather.Jamaica, on our TikTok page or Weather Jamaica, and on our Facebook page or Weather Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there as we make posts throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. So we can definitely see the clouds right here, especially across the southern portion of the island. We're talking about northern St. Catherine, section of Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, gotten on the overcast skies, and some of this spilled into section of Westmoreland too. Definitely gotten on some isolated shores underneath all of that for sure. And we can see it all even better on the visible satellite images of Jamaica before the sun went down. We can definitely make out that low level flow of the clouds pushing in from east to west. All of these clouds piling up, bringing that isolated shore activity to section of St. Elizabeth. We got the brunt of it, section of Westmoreland too. We also saw some of the action across section of Clarendon, northern St. Catherine, even some isolated shores coming in from off the sea into section of Portland as well. And even the infrared close-up satellite images registered some brief convection. At one point, section of St. Anne got in on some of that. We saw the high cold cloud top shearing off to the east. We also saw a section of St. Elizabeth got in on some of the brief convection as well. Excuse me. If we take a look at what took place on the halfway tree camera at around 3:14 p.m., we can see people in the vehicles right here going about their business. You can see people on the sidewalk going about their business. We can clearly see sunshine. Not much in the way of bad weather at all was being experienced across the corporate area today. And I'd like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to see more live streams like this, just visit See Jamaica on YouTube. They show live streams like this all day, every day. You're talking about Crossroads, the Kingston Harbor, the panoramic city view, flat bridge in St. Catherine. And they're planning on increasing the amount of cameras that they have in and around the island. So subscribe today so that you don't miss out. If we take a look at the accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the CIMH, that's the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, this map does indeed paint a picture of where we had that rainfall today. Definitely across sections of some northern parishes, Portland, St. Mary, St. Anne, especially during the morning hours. Then during the afternoon, that's when we started to get on the rainfall as expected, as well as seen on the satellite images across northern St. Catherine, section of Clarendon, Manchester, as well as section of St. Elizabeth spilling into Westmoreland as well. And we definitely have confirmation about what the weather was like today from some of our commenters. We had Antonique Leachman, 4504, getting just a little winds in St. Catherine, nothing much. Overcast, no rain. When is more rainfall expected? Just stay tuned and you'll definitely find out. We have Tangeloni stating a piece of rain tear a Falmouth before morning. Wake me up out of my slumber. Alright. Thanks for confirming the rainfall during the morning. This was posted on our Blue Sky page. If you don't know, we're also on Blue Sky at weather-jamaica for those of you who are tired of Twitter. We also have on our Instagram page share_does stating sunny in downtown Kingston area. Hot Diva 114 Portmore, the sun is out in all its glory. And Lee_Dan_music stating save some for January and March in the dry season. Trust me, they're gonna be getting rainfall on the north coast during the dry season for sure. Even on our Facebook page, we had the comments coming in. As usual, Sylvia Bando confirming what the weather is like in her area. Sun is out with a little cloudy condition or cloudy skies in Brownstown, St. Anne area. Thanks for confirming. And Peter Anna Baker posting a huge GIF, or is that a picture? So showing sunshine in her area. And finally, we have Marcia Rodney stating bright and sunny in St. Andrew. So it was a mixture of sunshine, a mixture of rainfall. We definitely got rainfall wherever those clouds were sitting on top of, for sure. So don't think that it didn't rain somewhere. If we take a look at the very latest still image from the Weather Nerds website about what's happening right now, the latest still image is as of 0005 UTC. So that's as of 7:05 p.m. And we can see that the time is now 7:21 p.m. right now. As a matter of fact, another image is supposed to come out shortly showing the 7:15 still image. But we're not going to be waiting for that. Clearly, we can see that there's nothing happening across the island right now. There's some dots of low-level milky whitish clouds right here off to the east of the island. And if we take a look at the very latest Cuban Doppler radar images, let us reload these images so that we have the very latest to show. Hopefully, it hasn't glitched out like it's been doing for the past week. Hopefully, it's actually up to date or no. Alright, so it's reloaded, but it's still showing 5:40 p.m. But we can clearly see that at 5:40, we were getting in on that rainfall that northwestern St. Elizabeth was seen to be receiving on the infrared and the visible satellite images. Some of this definitely spilled into section of southeastern Westmoreland. If we take a look at the Guantanamo Bay Cuban naval radar imagery, excuse me, we can see some isolated shores in and around eastern Cuba. Nothing too significant, could even be ground clutter. The Cayman radar not showing much of anything at all. Regarding the temperatures right now, we can see that we have 26 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 25 degrees Celsius in Kingston. And by about 4 a.m. on Wednesday, temperature should dip down to about 24 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 23 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow. This map from the GFS is valid for 18Z on Wednesday. When calculated, that's about 1 p.m. on Wednesday, and we can see Jamaica right here embedded in some slight orange colors. I know the orange colors are representing up to 2 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. And we know the normal temperatures for the month of December across Jamaica are around 87 degrees Fahrenheit. 87 degrees Fahrenheit when calculated to Celsius is about 30.6 degrees Celsius. So given the temperature forecast of at least 2 degrees Celsius above normal, it should be anywhere from 30 to 32 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Wednesday. And if it's going to be a bit too hot for you, please ensure that if you live in these areas, you're prepared for the heat to be exacerbated because of the power outages that are expected, or because of my JPS Online posting here on their Twitter page stating that they're going to be maintenance outages up for Bogue Road between Mafe Santee Drive and Palm Bay for Wednesday, December 11, that's tomorrow, between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. Also, we have Port Royal Road from Roundabout to Port Royal, maintenance outage for Kingston on Wednesday, December 11 from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We also have Mafesanti Drive and Palm Bay in St. James for the same day, Wednesday, December 11, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. And finally, we have Pondside to Cold Spring, maintenance outage advisory up for Hanover for Wednesday, December 11, 9:15 a.m. to 6 p.m. So if you live or work in those areas, or if you have friends or relatives who live or work in those areas, please ensure that you let them know that a power outage is coming their way. Because boy, if you don't have our fan or AC to cool us down, the temperature can make things miserable. But we have some tips here to beat the heat. When you're outside, seek shade. It also states here, eat fresh. Try eating cold foods such as salads and fruits. Rest. Make sure you get enough sleep and rest if you're feeling tired. Soak. Take a cool shower or bath to help you cool down. And I cannot stress enough how important it is to always stay hydrated. Put away the sugary drinks. Drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry air map. We know the dry air is represented by what we see on the key on the bottom. That's the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites within those reds. And we see that there's a lot of dry air across the main development region. A lot of dry air across the Atlantic and the Caribbean, as well as the Gulf of Mexico in general. We can see a kind of break in the dry air. We have that huge trough of low pressure, definitely moistening up the atmosphere for sure. The dry air can definitely make it harder for it to rain across an area. But regarding the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Wednesday, the Saharan dust is definitely pushing westward towards the Caribbean for sure. We can see that most of it is right here across the southern main development region. Some of it is pushed out right here to the north, and we see some of it already affecting portion of northeastern South America right there. The Saharan dust can definitely cause hazy skies and trigger some amount of respiratory illnesses in some persons. We're talking about asthma, sinusitis. So, just in case it makes it to our neck of the woods, we have the Caribbean right here, we have Jamaica right here. Make sure that you prepare, get your meds handy. Even although what we've been noticing is that most of the Saharan dust has been dwindling the more west it goes, let's hope that it's going to be a case like that over the next week. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we're starting to see some very choppy seas across the Gulf of Mexico associated with that cold front. It makes sense. Up to 4.4 meter wave heights are going to be experienced right there to the east of Mexico, across the Gulf of Mexico to the south of the US Gulf Coast states, because of the strong northerly or northeasterly winds expected from that cold front. We also see the waters in and around Jamaica up to 1.3 meter wave heights on the north coast, same on the south coast, but clearly we have those purples up to 2.3 meter wave heights to the far south of Jamaica. Excuse me. And that's because the winds. Look at the winds that are expected across the Gulf of Mexico because of the frontal system. Up to 31 knots. That's crazy. The winds to the far south of Jamaica up to 19 knots. Definitely makes sense that it's chopping up the seas. But clearly the winds immediately around Jamaica not that robust. 10 knots on the north coast, 9 knots on the south coast. Eastern Caribbean, at least up to, let's see, it looks to be 14, 15 knots. Nothing too drastic. We can see all of what these colors mean on the key on the bottom right. The blues into the greens, maybe 5 to 10 knot winds. The bright greens are talking about 10 to 20 knot winds. The yellows into the gold colors or the burgundy colors, we're talking about 25 all the way up to maybe 40 knot winds. But regarding what's expected across Jamaica for tomorrow, clearly we see on the south coast it's more like an easterly kind of flow. The north coast still getting on some kind of northeasterly or east northeasterly flow. We also see that the air could be piling up across sections of some central and western parishes, so maybe some afternoon convection, daytime heating, diarrhea of rainfall for a section of some central and western parishes. We'll see exactly what unfolds. I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs on my other social media platforms. But if we take a look At the wind shear forecast now. This was what I was talking about earlier. This is one of the main reasons why this time of year it's so hard for these systems to form. We know the wind shear is represented by what we see on the key on the right. That's the blues into the greens, the yellows, oranges, or reds, into the purples. Clearly, the strongest upper level winds are across the United States. But even these blues across the Caribbean is still too much, or definitely capable of ripping these thunderstorms apart. But right now, we see the upper level trough of low pressure definitely sitting in an area that kind of supports development, but boy, it's not going to be happening at all, considering that we have upper level winds surrounding that. Is definitely going to be ripped apart. Nothing can formulate this time of year, and we see the winds coming in from the west across the island for tomorrow. But regarding the rainfall forecast now, didn't see much rainfall for the morning hours across Jamaica, but that doesn't mean that it can't occur, especially across the north and the east, that are usual in terms of the actual morning rainfall. But for 4 p.m. on Wednesday, we start to get in on some blues across eastern, central, and western parishes, and we see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus with that forecast. So look out for some afternoon isolated showers for sure. We also see the accumulated precipitation forecast maps in consensus that the most in the way of rainfall should be across the eastern end of the island, up to 0.2 of an inch across sections of the east on the Euro GFS. A bit more robust, showing up to 0.29 of an inch in the yellows. We'll see exactly what unfolds, and I'll definitely be keeping you posted with what happens on our other social media platforms. Alright, so as usual, we're in December. We're in one of the driest months of the year, to be honest. It's the beginning of our dry season. In Kingston, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the top, we shall receive up to 25 millimeters of rainfall, that's 1 inch. In Montego Bay, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the bottom, we shall receive close to 4 inches of rainfall, that's almost 100 millimeters of rainfall. And I'd like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to know what your specific parish receives during the month of December, or from January to December, you can visit weatherandclimate.com and they'll show you that information. And you can use this nice little graphic right here that converts rainfall from inches to millimeters. You know that 1 inch of rainfall is about the same as 25 millimeters of rainfall. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. Alright, so we can clearly see some clouds bringing some overcast skies, some isolated showers and thunderstorms to section of eastern Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana. We can also see some isolated showers coming into portions of the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the Leeward Islands getting in on some of the rainfall too. So to section of Belize, northeastern Guatemala, Honduras, and the southern and eastern United States. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean, let's see what's happening over there. Not seeing much of anything happening right now. Just some hit or miss isolated shores in the greens to the north of the Antigua and Barbuda. Some isolated shores to the south of Puerto Rico. We can clearly see some rainfall affecting Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia as we speak. But loading these rain bands or rain images from earlier today, section of central, eastern, and western Puerto Rico definitely got some amount of rainfall today. We also saw some rainfall into portion of St. Kitts and Nevis, section of Anguilla, Antigua, and Barbuda. Maybe St. Bart's got some of the action. So too Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia. And if we take a look at the Barbados radar, not seeing much happening across Barbados right now. Most of the moisture is to the north up there, pushing towards the southwest, definitely affecting section of Martinique, St. Lucia, section of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Not seeing much happening across Grenada right now, but that could change later on. Scrolling down, we can definitely see some rainfall to the east of Tobago for sure. Some rainfall to the east of Trinidad. Some of that could definitely make it into Trinidad later on tonight into tomorrow. Regarding the weather view of Doppler radar images, we can see that rainfall that we saw on the satellite images across the waters to the east of Belize, to the north of Honduras. And regarding where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, This map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both showing all the rainfall expected from now until 10 p.m. on Wednesday, and we can clearly see that there's going to be rainfall expected for the Yucatan Peninsula, Belize, section of Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama. You also see some rainfall definitely in store for section of Western Colombia, Northern and Eastern Venezuela, sections of the ABC Islands, so too sections of Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, also St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, Martinique, Dominica, Guadeloupe, spilling into portion of the Leeward Islands. We're talking about maybe Antigua and Barbuda. Not much for the US or British Virgin Islands according to the Euro, but the GFS kind of showing something there. So too maybe for Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic and Eastern Cuba. And we see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus with majority of the forecast. And we know that when they're in consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.